Hi, this is Dan. So sometimes this happens. My guests in this particular conversation moved to a new agency between the time that we recorded and the time the episode published. In this chat, we refer to Matejzik-Hofer. We even discussed what it is about Matejzik-Hofer that's keeping Mike and Stevan there and happy. But sometimes offers come along that are too good to pass up, and Mike and Stevan are now a team at Goodby Silverstein and Partners. Two more quick notes. I asked a question towards the end of this conversation that stumped Mike and Stevan. But stick with the show through the end, and you'll hear that Stevan just couldn't live without answering it, and he offered some very good advice. And finally, I leave you with this arbitrary, irrelevant observation. Starting this fall, every kid in high school in America will have been born in the 2000s.
Coming to you from a portable microphone, this is Don't Get Me Started. This is a conversation about advertising. And here is your host, freelance creative director and creative circus department head, Dan Balser.
Yes, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am back in the library, back with you in your ears. And I say this kind of thing often when these podcasts begin, but this time I swear I really, really mean this. I have nothing written down and nothing prepared for this chat. This is how optimistic I am that we're capable of having a vibrant conversation with no prompts, no tricks, no preparation. I don't know if I should be bragging about not preparing, not doing. Is that my job? Listeners, let me know if my job is to prepare or not. What were you going to say, Steven?
Just don't air it.
Don't use it, right? We just don't use it if it's
no pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, no pressure. I love that you say that, though, because I do say that to people. It's like, look, if it's not good, we're not going to use it. There's no pressure here. Conversation. Listeners, these things are curated. I love that word. What a word. It's curated content. The stuff that wasn't good.
Premium curated.
Premium. It's premium at the intro price. It's free of charge. But the stuff that wasn't good enough was never pushed out. You never had the option of hearing the bad ones. That's not to say that the Kevin Ames episode was bad, Kevin. If you're listening, it was great, and there really was a technical problem with it, and I couldn't use it, and we're going to do it again. So I'm just going to get that off my chest because I just saw Kevin Ames in the hall. And Steven's like, what the hell are you talking about?
I heard it. It was terrible.
It didn't exist, my friend. It didn't exist. It did not exist. So as you know from looking at the description of the show, Stevan Michael Chavez and Michael Gallucci are here with me today, and I'm always scared I'm going to say Mark Gallucci because Mark Gallucci was on the podcast years ago, but this is Mike, and both of these guys went to the Creative Circus. I want to get this straight. Steven, you were out first, right? Or you were out second?
I was second.
You were second. So Mike went straight from here to Matejzik-Hofer, and you joined him at Matejzik-Hofer after a stint at the Creative Circus, and then finishing Creative Circus, went to Wexley School for Girls, and then you guys partnered up 6 years ago at Matejzik-Hofer. Prior to coming to the Creative Circus, which is the name of an actual accredited school, Mike had finished a master's program at Harvard in theology. And we talked for a bit at lunch about that, but I'm very interested in hearing more about how this was not a 180. Someone referred to that move as a 180. I don't think of that as a 180. And I want to get Mike's thoughts. It's not a 180.
No.
So, guys, welcome back to the circus. Is this your first time back since you left?
This is the first, yeah. So we left and then that was it. Right, we're back.
So that's Mike's.
Feels really nice.
That's Mike's. That's Mike's voice. It feels good.
It feels good. Atlanta feels good. I missed Atlanta.
Yeah,
yeah, more than I thought I would.
Oh, Atlanta's so real.
It's so what?
So real.
It's San Francisco feel like you're living in like a Northern California theme park sometimes?
Yeah, it's not safe at all, but it just feels like there's a lot of like characters that are the same in some neighborhoods.
Little bit players in the play that you're walking through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember at one point we lived in Brooklyn, and it felt like you walk out of your house and these tree-lined streets that are budding in the spring, and you see people walking their babies in strollers, and it felt like you're living in a musical on a set. San Francisco seems like the alternate set at times. I remember
it's it's a set filled with feces and needles and zombies.
Right, there's homeless people, a lot of homeless people.
So
I do want to talk about that because someone was in here and we were setting up, and you guys were being mobbed by your fans because it was a hell of a presentation. Folks, let me tell you something. If you missed the presentation, it was great. It was really, really, really great. Interrupted by a bout of maybe some food poisoning, possibly. Oh, I've never seen a speaker say, "I'm not kidding right now. I'm going to run out the side door and take care of some business." But other than that, it was really, really, really great. So they were in here while I was setting up, and they said it's a 180. I said, I don't think it's a 180. So talk to me about this. I'm curious. I want the listeners to hear this, like how you can come from a background like a master's in theology. What were the classes you were taking? And my question for you when we were at lunch was, were you studying a religion? Were you studying how religion works in society? Was it a sociology, psychology, anthropology, or was it all sort of theological study about sort of how to be a rabbi or a priest or a
So I was studying basically, it kind of turned into a religion and pop culture in America, and just focusing on all these kind of fringe movements and popular culture movements. And so when people say it was a 180, I don't think it was at all, because I look at religion, and that what I was originally, why I was drawn to it is people say like, oh, I didn't know Mike was going to be a priest. It's like, no, Mike's not going to be a priest. You're studying history and sociology and psychology and all these things.
When you were in school, and Steven, you can answer this too. When you were in school, were you into the stuff you were studying?
I was really into it. Yeah.
That's really cool.
I got really lucky, and so my now wife, she got me into religious studies because she was a very attractive woman that said, I'm going to take modern Jewish thought. And I had no interest in taking modern Jewish thought as a 18-year-old guy. So I was like, I'm going to be a business major and make tons of money. But she was the cute girl, and she said, yep, I'm taking it. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking it too. And it was just fascinating. And the class was amazing. And we had this like hard-ass teacher that everyone hated. I loved her. Hello, Annette Aronowitz, if you're listening. And it was just fascinating. And then it just kind of...
That was undergrad?
Yeah. And it just kind of snowballed. And then...
That's amazing. I think that... Well, I've told you guys a story about like how I think that the place that you should always gravitate towards, and whether it's a cute person talking you into it or whether it's just because you owe it to yourself. I think that we all... I was asked to speak at this baccalaureate thing, which is like when people are graduating and you have to go talk. And I was supposed to, I didn't even realize what I was going to say till I got there. Yeah. Well, I knew what I was going to say. I didn't realize the whole context of what I was supposed to say, which is my charge. This is your charge for the seniors. And my charge for the seniors ended up, and I ended up writing this off the top of my head, is to once a semester, once a year, to go do the thing that's like the last thing you want to do. Mm-hmm. Like it's on your list of things you're willing to do towards the bottom, but it's not on the list of things you want to do, because that's where you're going to expand your sort of worldview and your influences and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool.
Well,
cool.
Yeah, we were talking about this at lunch, but like just putting yourself in a situation where everyone is so much smarter than you and from so many different backgrounds, and you're totally out of your league when you're having classes with some general from Chile and
right. That's crazy.
People who advise presidents and just weird stuff. Like you're like, why am I here? But it's a
privilege.
It is a privilege, and I would say there's part of me that thinks that we've gotten dumber from having worked in advertising. I think because everything is like so quick and rapid fire, and like just like an instantaneous like do this. Like I wish that I could go back and slow down again and really like get into like stories and things more.
Are you saying that it lacks a depth of thought? Are you saying that like you don't have time to actually kind of like what do you
I think people's like attention spans are just they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I obviously think that's true in a large way, but I actually contend that we've evolved to a time where people I don't know. I was thinking about this. I don't know if I said this on the podcast, listeners. If I did, I'm sorry, but I think that the unit of entertainment now is no longer a TV series or even a 2-hour movie. It's an 18-hour movie. I mean, look at Stranger Things. Those are basically 13-hour films, and you can't tell me that people aren't riveted and sit there and stare at it. And there's nothing to go against that argument bigger than the concept of binge watching.
It's true.
I mean, you're hyper attention. So to me, it's sort of like people don't want to pay attention to shit. People want to pay attention to things that are engaging. And I just had this conversation with, and you guys, we were talking about Rob Lambrex about like, you know, Pereira and Odell kind of invented this. I don't know that it worked or anyone saw it, but the stuff they did for Intel, which like the Beauty Inside stuff, that was just incredible storytelling, and Unflinching Triumph, the Philip Rockhammer story, which was like a film that they did for Red Bull about a stare down contest, and you only saw Red Bull in this 7-hour movie, I don't know, maybe 2-hour movie for like 2 seconds, but they're so entertaining. And I don't know, do these conversations ever come up at work and with clients about like we should do something that's like going to entertain people, going to bring people in? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how, because I don't think you're alone. I think that people in advertising are like, this is just my job. The cool, interesting stuff is kind of on the side. How can you meld the two, and how can you create content? So I don't know. This is not even a question, but I don't know if Stevan has a thought about this as he stares at his hat.
No. I was just thinking about how I don't like binge watching shows like that.
So you are a short attention span guy.
No, just like I miss it when shows were on like Friday night or something, and then everybody talks about it the next day. I like having like the community of everyone doing the same thing at the same time, like in the world. I feel like it makes the energy that happens when everyone's doing the same thing. Like when you're in an arena and everyone's cheering at the same time, that's like everyone's like mind working at the same level.
That's to me that to me is profoundly a religious experience. That's what to me is beyond us, the Gestalt. It's the moment when like at a Grateful Dead show where they'd be like, Jerry would do something that people would recognize, and you'd hear the reaction ripple through the arena, or in a baseball game when it's just a great double play and you can just hear the whole building rise up at the same time. It's just so cool. And we missed it. Is that your stomach? I heard that.
That's what's happening.
Oh my God. All right. So let's talk about how it started at Matazix. Someone had asked you guys about how you started there and what they liked about you and the whole interview thing. But I want to talk about what was it that attracted you to Matazix Hoffer at the time when you started there, other than the fact they were willing to hire you and maybe they had some quirky work, but was there something about that you chose to work there? And the reason I'm asking that is because I want listeners to think about the fact that they're not just out there hoping someone likes them. You have to like them back. So what was it about Matazix and what continues to be about Matazix that's keeping you guys there? Or is that two different answers?
I think it's two different answers. So I was looking for a job, and Kim Kurtz shot me Matazix's website, and I looked at it, and I knew it was funny, but John's like he's really, really, really smart, like shockingly smart, I would say. And I didn't know if it was smart because it should be smart, if I was missing something. It was like that, like kind of high level where I was like, okay, there's obviously something like here. And I went and interviewed, and he was just like a genuinely, shockingly nice guy.
Yeah, he's really nice.
And the opportunity was amazing because it was basically maybe 15 people in the office.
Wow.
And it was, you get to work with John. And so coming right out of school.
Did you feel like you missed, was he a supervisor for you? Did he kind of, how did the work, creative director role work for you at first? Like, I mean, was there sort of oversight, or did you feel like you were?
It was more of a team. I mean,
Interesting.
The agency was small enough where everybody knew what everyone was doing. And that includes like, I mean, there was only a few creatives, but it was strategy and production and account, and we'd all come together and kind of this brain trust and figure out stuff. And then when it was time to go write, like John's a writer too, so we'd both write and we'd kind of switch papers back and forth, and he probably threw up at my stuff, and so it was more of a like a partner, mentor, creative director kind of
Interesting.
thing.
It's rare.
Yeah, it was really rare.
And you guys have been there for 6 years. What's keeping you there? Like, has there been times when it's sort of like, let's look and see what's going on over at that place, or people have called you for opportunities, and then sort of why do you end up sort of the magnet pulling you back to this place?
It's the people for sure. Like agencies, they go up and down. Like there's, like little seasons, like a show. Like season 1 was like me, Mike, and John and Deco making.
Oh, Deco Dahlgren.
Yeah, like making stuff and like partying and being awesome. And then like season 2 would be like adding like the more employees that we hire, I don't know who's it, like Alex or something,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Smith, and like Michelle and Kelly season, that was a good season. Then like when we win like Netflix and stuff and hire all the youngsters, that was a new season.
That was kind of like the new generation. Yeah, it was interesting because there's definitely like when that happens, there's like there's a new generation that comes. And then
Corey Conrad still there?
Corey went to 72 and Sunny.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, Corey's great.
Corey's great. Hi, Corey.
Hi, Corey.
That's a really interesting way of thinking about seasons. That's really, really cool.
We didn't like Corey when we first interviewed because like we took him out to dinner. Me, John, Mike, and Hillary Lannan.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all telling our shit stories, like how we shit our pants or peed our pants. And then it was like Corey's turn, and he said, I don't have one. And we didn't believe him, so we still don't believe that he doesn't have a shit or piss story.
You know what my guess is for that, though? My guess is like I'm not experienced enough to be able to even contribute to this because I'm just so new that I don't have nothing's ever happened to me worth telling. Like, I don't think it was an ego thing for him.
No, it's not an ego thing. It's just I wanted to
hear
his
saying,
pee-pee story.
Oh, right. You're saying that he's like, come on, man, let's just share your story.
I wanted to hear his pee-pee story.
Like, right, so don't be so... Are you talking about, like, sharts? Absolute...
Anything. Like bad things. Like, I told about how I peed my pants at Jazz Fest, and Mike talked about... What's your...
I had a boat incident.
Oh, the boat incident. John talked about...
the boat incident.
John had, like, a bridge incident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hillary's.
And he didn't... Oh, so you're saying he just didn't share it?
Yeah, we were in the circle of trust. And
oh, that's interesting.
I bet he has one, but he might not. He could be clean.
See, but I find you're the first person I would tell my shit to.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm a piece of shit. Like, who cares what I think?
No, it's because you're saying it yourself. Like, it's disarming. It's completely, like, engaging. And students came up to me afterwards. There's literally students waiting outside to show you guys work because there's something very genuine about you guys that's, I'm not going to say that, I'm over it already, the weird thing. Like, I'm not buying it. Like, I don't see that anymore. Kind of like once you get to know twins, they don't look like the same person anymore. That's cliche. Fucking, of course, they're identical twins, but they're not to me anymore. They're Mike and Dave. Mm. And you guys, to me, like, the weird is irrelevant, actually, because all that is your signature expression of how you approach presentation and creative. And everybody needs to have that. But for me, what I find is more like a lack of a filter and this is probably why you didn't like Corey in that moment, because you felt like he had a filter on there that was like, come on, like, just don't have one. Like, and bizarrely, it comes from like a confidence position that I always felt like he should, if anyone should be confident, I think he's so talented, but he's also super humble. Do you feel confident? Do we always confident? Steven?
Like, hanging out with, when I was in the fourth quarter and Mike was in fifth quarter is when we met. And I knew I was the worst guy in my quarter. Like,
what does that mean? Okay, all right, go ahead.
Well, like, when I started, I didn't know how to use the machine. You know, like, I didn't know InDesign or Photoshop. Or
you called Photoshop a machine, so
yeah, I couldn't open the machine and make it work,
right?
And make real ads, and other people could. And so, like, of course, the good copywriters want to work with the people who can make their ads the fastest, and and that wasn't me. I'm still very slow, but Mike's quarter didn't have any art directors, so they needed me, and that boosted my confidence. And we go out and drink, and I just felt super comfortable, and like hanging out with them made me feel super comfortable. And I took that comfortableness to Wexley, and then I came back and I felt double comfortable, and it's just like comfort, just feeling like you can say whatever you want.
My daughter, I'm sure my daughter could explain to me what this retro bias. There's got to be some psychological term of retro bias or something that changes your opinion of your memory based on your association to something in the present. There's some term for that. And I'm sorry about the cracking. That's Steven's bottle, but we're gonna let Steven take care of ingesting water just to calm his body. But my memory of you wasn't that, though. That's fucked up because like I'm usually pretty good at remembering and judging. And my memory, I don't mean judging, I judge thee. No, yeah. I remember analyzing talent or whatever, and I just seem to remember you being really, maybe it was just you were socially popular, but I remember that you being very popular art director, but maybe I'm remembering at 6th and 7th, 8th quarter or something.
Might have been later on. Yeah, like...
he was hot fire. I mean...
Caught fire, that would make sense, honestly.
I feel like Hetty, like I had a meeting with Hetty second quarter. She pulled me out of class. I don't know how many people she did this with in my quarter, but it was like strange. I was in some class and I got a note like, go see Hetty in her office. Like,
Hetty was at the time she was sort of the co-department head, and she was a copywriter. Just so the listeners know who Hetty Lunenfeld.
Hetty Lunenfeld, and we sat in her office. She was like, "So you're not very good, and it's very expensive to go to this school. Are you sure you want to do this?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "What do you mean? like you we're looking at your thing, and like you're no good. Like you should probably save your money because this is probably not for you."
Great.
And I was like, "Okay, cool. I want to stay." And so I just stayed, and that made me kind of mad and made me want to like not suck.
Really, really hard, honestly, to figure out if this character in this story was actually not very good or here to fucking learn how to be good. So I don't think, honestly, here's the thing. I don't believe, and I've said this on the podcast, I don't think I could make you creative. I don't think a school can make someone creative. And I also may be an outlier in this. I don't believe everybody's creative. I think that's bullshit. I think everybody's creative in a certain context. That doesn't mean everybody who is creative can be an advertising creative. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to rephrase thoughts in a unique, interesting way. You have to be able to entertain. You have to be able to perform. Art director has to be able to design, understand strategy. Creativity applied is not universal. I'm just sorry to say that. However, I do think that there are people that come here that are terrible because they don't know how to do this. And a lot of those people are coming out of possibly a minority upbringing where they didn't understand or they didn't get to flex or train the muscles of seeing the value in creativity and doing creative projects when they were younger. They had blue collar parents or whatever, and they get here and they're like, I don't have any idea how to make any of this stuff. I don't understand any of this stuff, but you've got the raw material to train yourself to apply what's a weirdness, I'm putting in air quotes, to be a great advertising professional. So my hardest part is to figure out early on, and this is all about me, this podcast, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, listener. To figure out, okay, does this person have what it takes and they don't know how yet, or does this person really just should be doing something else for real? Mm-hmm. And that's a tough one. But all of my memory of you is someone who is the first one, the one who just doesn't have any idea how to make thoughts exist versus not having the thoughts. And there's people that don't have the thoughts. That's a problem. I don't know if you guys ever work with one of those. I'm sure by the time they get to Ms. Hazek, you're not dealing with that. But anyway,
I've heard about it.
You've heard of that. I asked you guys a question in forum about your partnership. What has made your partnership work?
I think we realize that we're lucky in that we wake up every day and I get to go to work with my friend, mm-hmm. and our job is to just bounce ideas off each other, and it's just whatever we think is awesome. And I mean, luckily I found someone with like the same kind of sensibilities as me.
Which one of you guys is, if either of you, which one of you guys is the strategic mind saying we got to push this back or figure out, okay, that was great, but it doesn't make sense. Can we make it make sense? Is either of you more of the strategic, one eye on the brief kind of guy?
We take turns.
Yeah.
It like sometimes it's so weird. Like I don't have these are my skill sets and those are his. It's like a flowing thing. Like sometimes.
I love that.
We take turns with everything though.
Yeah.
Like sometimes Stevan isn't just as good as a writer as he is an art director. Mm-hmm. So if I'm stuck, I'm just like, dude, like what's this gonna say? And he'll come up with something like.
Can I tell you why I think you're a good writer?
Yeah,
Steven, because you write down what you think and would say, versus what I think is a copywriter who isn't as good is someone who rolls up their sleeves now to write some copy, and it comes out sometimes overthought, overwrought, and inaccessible. The presentation that you did today, I'm sure you guys collaborated on it, but you were presenting it, Steven, with the 3 archetypes of cool, was so well written because it was so like a stand-up bit. It was like a conversation, and I want you to understand why I'm talking about this. I want you to understand the context. I try to teach really, really hard. I just really tried really hard to teach, and I'm finding myself now having to teach more than I used to. I never would have considered myself a teacher. In fact, I would consider myself an enabler, a mentor, and a coach, right? It's not, I don't want to teach a kid how to kick a ball. I want to teach them where they should position themselves on the field and see their teammates in the defense. How do you read the situation to use what you can already do? Yeah. But now I find myself saying, okay, just plant your left foot, push your right foot back, and swing through the ball. I don't know what changed, but the reason I'm talking about this is because the craft of copywriting, and I think maybe this is particular to writing because people don't write like we used to write. I think that there's a people draw a line between, oh, this is my Facebook post, but this is supposed to be an ad, so I've got to be smarter or something. No, you don't. So I think there's so much power in just the genuine honesty of just expressing a thought in a funny way. And goes back to the Corey conversation. There's no filter. There's no embarrassment. There's no shame in sucking. In fact, the fucking first thing you guys fucking said was, you suck, we suck. Yeah. The minute you say that, and I don't know, maybe one person in the room understood this. The minute you say, I suck, is the minute before you start doing great stuff. Because it's you have liberating. No expectation.
It feels great to say.
Yeah, it feels awesome. And no one expects anything out of you.
Right.
Including yourself. So anything that you make is a bonus.
Yeah, we're two dummies and just being dumb. And then eventually, one of us gets smart for a second. It's like, wait a minute.
I mean, it's like a flash of smartness.
Yeah,
but
that's all you need.
That's all you need. That's it.
That's all you need. That's all.
So I would say we're dumb a lot. Most of the day we spend being very dumb.
But we have an 8-hour day for a flash of. We have an 8-hour day for a flash of brilliance. I remember my brother explained to me golf. I hated fucking golf growing up. Hate it. Why would you fucking do this to yourself?
It's like a dog game.
Well, who was some famous? I think it was some famous Mark Twain might have said golf is a long walk ruined, something like that. Yeah. And he said to me, my brother said, you don't understand. You go out there, play 18 holes, you hit one good shot. Then the next time you try to hit 2. Like that. So you're just playing for the one. Once you realize you're out there just to play for one good shot, you don't worry about the ones you shank. You don't worry about
trying to have fun with it.
So golf, I'm. First of all, listeners, and you guys, I can't fucking believe how many sports analogies I've had in this conversation. I'm so fucking sorry.
Like to the most unsports guys ever, too.
Right, but you're nodding, so you understand it. So the point is, you're supposed to just be going for that 1 minute of brilliance, but you got to shovel a lot of sand to find something in the sand that's worthwhile. This has been a monologue. I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. It's been a lot. This has been a monologue, and I look at the audio track of this thing when I'm editing. And my voice is on the bottom because I'm on the left-hand speaker and you guys are on the right. And I look at the bottom one. I'm like, fuck, I talked that entire... Like, we didn't hear from the guests. The reason why the show is titled episode whatever.
Episode Mike and Stevan.
Mike and Stevan. It's not Dan. I'm sorry.
Shame.
So,
Shame.
What's been a highlight so far of your time at Matesic? What do you look back at and say, this is like, when are you happiest? 2 different questions.
I would say when we're happiest is when you get a team. And this doesn't happen very often. I wish it would happen more. But when everyone is on the same page, and I think that's why a lot of people don't, especially coming out of school. And I think at every different agencies, people are like, the creatives are like the idea kings, and everyone else is just there to sell their stuff. And okay, I guess you can do it that way, but the most fun we've had is when your account person is right there with you, and the strategy is right there with you, and you're all just this kind of awesome, army of creative power, and everyone's firing on all cylinders, and you're just an unstoppable thing. And then the client joins the family too, and then that's when the best work is done. Yeah. When you can bring everyone together, and not just try and force something through.
There's a lot of little things it's a really rewarding job because all the approvals that we have to do, whenever we're on production, it feels good, for the ego, because you say you want it to look this way, then you show it to the client, and they like it, and that feels good. And you say you want these people to be in it, you show it to the client, they like it, that feels good again. And then you're on the set, you're talking to the director to do this, he likes it, we do it, that feels really good. So it's just a series of small accomplishments to make something. So there's for anything to get made, yes has to be said along the way, and every time it feels good. So it's a collection of things.
That's really cool. Who's been the best client you guys have worked on that And why? Is there a particular client that you just enjoy doing the work for?
Milkshakes.
Yeah, we work on a lot of like quick projects.
Oh, you do projects?
Yeah.
So are you guys AOR of anything that you guys are working on all the time?
Not us, no.
Okay.
So that's
okay.
I don't think we could function that way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like
that's great.
we need like to be moved around.
Why?
I think we get burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gotta tell you, the best client we worked for me, I think, was we worked on OXO. And OXO, it's like the rubber-handled kitchen products that you have drawers full of. Mm-hmm. And they've never marketed at all. And they're like, okay, we have to do, we're going to do something for the first time in however many decades. And the people that were there, they were like, we don't know, like, we don't get it. We showed them a concept. They're like, I don't know if this, they're like, someone like, I don't necessarily like it, but it works. And I realize why it works. So it was like,
that's interesting.
They were just, everyone that working there was so smart and they just got it. And, kind of the woman we were working with, she came from Pepsi, I think. And she was just like so smart, so into it. And everyone like made this thing together. They were like the smartest, I would say.
All right. Since you've been out of school, what's been the biggest surprise? And if it's a negative surprise, what is it, and what do you wish you had known going in? What's the best lesson learned? Is there anything surprised you, like, wow, this is like, I did not expect this, or any adjustments you had to make from school that was you didn't anticipate?
I was gonna say like making presentations, because like you make so many presentations, you make so many decks, but here like you don't really learn that at all. It kind of just goes down in a row on your website. Right. When in actuality, it's like a story that you have to tell.
Was that a learning curve for you, or was it just like a drag?
For me, it was.
Or both.
Yeah, I was like, oh, put it in the slideshow. I didn't really understand it, but now we're like, we love decks.
I think for me, it was making good work is shockingly hard. And I think when you're in school, you have the idea, and then you quote unquote make it because you're the only one in charge of it. So it's like, I like it, it's made, we're done. Okay, cool. Like, it's in my book. Look, there we go. And then the first thing that I worked on at Matasic was Slavery Footprint, which like won a bunch of pencils and got a lion, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like,
that was easy.
That was easy. Yeah, here we go. We're done. And you're like, wait, it doesn't work like that. It is so hard, and
you're only as good as your next ad.
Yeah, like what Steven was saying, like the amount of yeses and like little victories that you have to get something good is like the stars really have to align for good work to happen.
That's right. It's very true. So if I'm graduating from school now, what advice would you give me if I'm just like out there ready to try to land that first job? Like how should someone focus? Let me ask you an easier question. Let me narrow that down. Somebody who is good, has done everything the way they do, but they're just not getting calls back. Maybe there's not an offer right away. A little frustrated. Like what advice do you give to somebody who is nervous about getting a job and feels like they've invested time and money in this, and then is finding it a little bit harder to find a good match?
That's hard, man.
Should I pick another question?
No, I'm trying to think. Like,
or anyone who's just started. Or what would you say to someone who's day one at their first job?
Just work your ass off, I think.
Say hi. Just
say hi.
Don't be nobody.
Take me off ass out again. Say hi is better.
Would you say work your ass off?
Yeah.
No, you definitely have to work your ass off.
Yeah, you have to say hi and work your ass off.
Do you know what I would say? Don't work harder, work more.
Yeah.
It goes back to what you and Steven, were saying earlier about just like saying what you think, and that's probably the best it's going to be written. And I'm not saying a writer shouldn't craft their copy. I'm just saying that people get in their own way sometimes. People think they have to work so hard. Think so hard.
Yeah. Well, I remember like when we were at school before panel, there was like a group of kids that would lock themselves in a classroom for like a whole week, and they'd be disgusting, and they would just eat a bunch of Doritos and like not take showers and wear like disgusting sweatpants, and they wouldn't leave, even though everyone lives 5 minutes from the school. I don't understand why you can't just like go home and take a shower. Like you can't. You're not producing anything of quality.
Do you know what I used to say to those people?
What?
You're wearing your inefficiency as a badge of honor.
Yeah,
like you didn't do your homework, so you're pulling 6 consecutive all-nighters because you weren't smart enough to plan. It's like nobody did this to you.
Yeah.
I mean, are you practicing for the night that the client kills everything and you're up all night? Because that's going to happen, but you don't need to practice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So no, yeah, but I think to Steven's point, like. And we need to be better at this, I think, in our agency. Is like a new person will just show up, and we won't have like an introduction to them, and it's just kind of weird. It's like, hey, new person. It's like, no, welcome. Like who are you? Tell us.
I think say hi is huge. Actually, I think say hi is huge, and I think that it when someone knows you on a personal level, it changes the whole dynamic. Yeah. And even here, I say to students, like, I'm not going to remember who the art directors and copywriters are. Unless I have a reason, unless you come to me at some point, and I have relationships with people, and I'm not saying this because I need a line of people saying hi to me, but like when someone calls me, like you guys call me to ask me for somebody, the person that I have that sort of connection with is the name I'm going to probably send you. So all right, cool. So listeners, I just want to say I apologize if this rambled or lost track a little bit. I'm trying. I've only been doing this for 11 years. I'm still working out the kinks. I also will remind you to keep that you didn't pay for it. So, but thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for
thanks for having
hanging out. You can reach me at danspodcast@mac.com. I forgot to remind you to like the Facebook page where I'll have pictures and links. And this show is also on the internet at balserville.com, and it's at the iTunes store. And if you're bored or happy, entertained, or frustrated, leave a review at the iTunes store. I will delete the bad ones. No, I'm kidding. I'll delete the bad ones. Guys, thanks so much. It's really, really great to see.
Thank you.
My children growing up. So proud of you. Listeners, we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Till then, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I remembered the answer. Or I thought of an answer for that one question.
Okay, go ahead.
To me, you got to be a real human being. Like, getting
That's your
to
advice?
go interview. Because sitting in there, like, there's people trying to be other people. Like, some people were trying to be, like, I don't know, a presenter, professional, but they know what they did and they can talk about it. That's just a whole other thing that you have to teach. Like, I don't know how you teach, like, your own be yourself kind of thing.
Maybe if you realize that you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, and that it's a real and combined with what we were just talking about saying hi and having a relationship with people on a people level, and not feel like you're having to try out or be tested, right?
Yeah, you gotta be a person. Like, I don't know how to help the kids. I don't know how to say that in a way. Be a real human person.
Love that. Cool.